one of my go-to snacks or desserts. I love this stuff. This is what I call my muscle pudding. So it's just having some pudding and mixing it in with some Greek yogurt and some cottage cheese. And this one is a sugar-free cheesecake pudding. Love this stuff. And then I'll put a protein powder with it as well. So I have all of this good stuff mixed in here. And then just basically blending it all up in a food mixer here. And it doesn't take long to make. You know, this is one of these things where it might take me about, I don't know, 10 minutes or so just to get it all together. And but then I'm set. It'll make me enough for like 4 days. And so it's a great protein source. I want to say about right around like 30 grams or so per serving. So works really well. And this, I actually like to eat it at night for a dessert. So about hour and a half before I go to bed, because it calms the cravings down. It feels like I get a dessert, like I get like a nice kind of treat in there that doesn't blow my nutrition out of the water, keeps me compliant with what I'm trying to do, and it keeps me feeling satisfied as well. So I'm definitely like not hungry. This fills me up. Oops. And so definitely like it. So makes it the whole process easier. Talked about this before about eliminating thinking, making, nutrition and training. It's like making these as predictable as possible, taking the thinking out of them, because it's so much easier to stick with things, when there's not as much to think about. I don't want to be having to worry about what I'm going to make, what am I going to prepare, what can I have, what fits my calories and my, my protein and carbs and fats. Like, I don't want to be thinking about that, during my day. I want to just have everything set, ready to go. So this is like one of my go-tos, meaning like I have everything on hand that I need to make it. I've always got these ingredients in the house. And if it's not already made, like I said, it'd take me about 10 minutes or so. So this definitely is one of kind of my secret weapons when I'm in a fat loss kind of phase here and trying to maintain a calorie deficit, and not going off the deep end and getting into a food binge or doing something crazy. Like, this really helps to minimize the likelihood of that. So definitely something that I keep on hand here. Maybe I'll show what it looks like. I mean, it doesn't look like anything pretty. It's nothing fancy. I'm not going to have this all like decorated in a fancy bowl and have like a perfect food shot. Like, no, this is not like food porn. This is kind of how it all looks. Just throw it all up in there. I'm going to put it and mix it up for probably, I don't know, about maybe 2 minutes. All right, it's done. And there you go. Hopefully you can see what that looks like. So you can see it's definitely a bit thicker, right? But it's definitely got a good kind of, fills you up pretty good. So that's what I like with it. But it is different. Like, there is a getting used to it, just like if you're somebody who, you're used to having pudding a certain way, and then the first time you have it, it's kind of like, kind of trip you out, like mess with your head a little bit. So, you got to be okay with that, I guess. Like, I gave this to my wife. She was like, "Ooh, I want to try." And so I had her try it because it's delicious. It really is incredible. It sounds like really weird. We talk about like what's in it. Oh, there's Greek yogurt and cottage cheese. And they're like, what? But it's absolutely delicious. But because I think, she's used to having like pudding a certain way. And so it was very different from what the perception was. So like her and the kids, the kids try it and they're like, nah. and didn't have anything to do with the taste. They just didn't care for like the texture of it. All right, so there we are. Got 4 cups of it. Fits perfectly in there. Just wrap them up and put them in the fridge. When you start developing this, I can only have this or I can't have that. When you start developing that mindset and that relationship with food, then that starts to set up these binges where, when you get to have what it is that you want because you've been craving it for so long, it's more likely you end up binging on it, because once you have it, it's like in your mind, you're thinking, I don't know when the next time I'm going to get to have this is. So I'm going to get my fill, right? And so, you binge out on it, and then you go through kind of these yo-yo cycles where, things are off limits, and then you binge on it, and then you feel like crap. And, I remember like having these episodes where just uncontrollable food cravings and binges and things that were off limits. And, I would allow myself to have these treats or whatever, like on a Saturday night. The problem was that I could not control myself when I had it. So I easily was eating 5,000, 5,500 calories in one evening. That's not in one day. That was in one evening. And it wasn't hard to do because I would just pig out. And then I'd get so full, like I couldn't even breathe. I would have trouble breathing. I would feel like absolute crap. Then I wouldn't sleep well because I had so much food in my stomach. You ever have like a really full stomach like that? I'd feel like there was a cement block in it and I couldn't sleep well. So then the next day I'm, not feeling rested. And then when you don't sleep well, it's easier to, or it's less likely to, that I would stay on target with my nutrition because my cravings would still be there. And there have been studies done on this that, people who are sleep deprived, they don't get enough sleep, they tend to struggle with maintaining lower calories. Like they're more likely to eat, I think it was something like 500 calories more per day on average. So, and it definitely affects hunger and all of that stuff. So, instead of going through all of that and having that kind of relationship with food, it's much easier to have something where it's like, this is not off limits. I can have something like this. It gives, it satisfies that dessert craving that I would have. And then when I do have something that's like, full on, maybe it's like a ice cream on the weekend or whatever, I don't go overboard on it. I don't feel like I'm missing it so much that I have to pig out on it. So I can just, have what it is that I figure works with my calories and my, my protein, my carbs, my fats for the day. And I could be cool with that. So definitely makes this whole thing a lot easier. So, sustainability, it should be enjoyable because you don't want to just do this for a little bit of time. It makes no sense to me to do things that you can't sustain long term. You do it for a little bit and then maybe, you look great, you lose fat, you feel better, your physique starts changing, and then you can't maintain it, and then you go off the deep end and you gain all the weight back and you're right back where you started. Or a lot of times what happens is we overshoot and we end up in a worse position in the end than we were to begin with. And then it sets up this whole cycle where every time after that you try to lose fat or lose weight again, it becomes harder to do so because the whole process is just set up that way. And every attempt at dieting and losing weight becomes harder than the previous one when you gain the weight back and when you overshoot and gain extra. So, rather than do that, because I've been through that, I've done that many times. And instead of doing that, I find that this has been the most sustainable approach for me. I've been doing this now for 2 years, consistently for 2 years, not yo-yoing and doing all this other stuff. And it's just worked a lot better. It's helped me lose weight. I'm almost 40 pounds down now and have kept it off for 2 years, and I'm actually progressing even more. So but that's it. So muscle pudding dessert, And that is it.